In the mid-2000s, several university students came together to create a group known as This Is It Collective. An organization consisted of individuals who direct, write, and produce films. While this is where our story begins, we'll mainly be focusing on just 2 individuals from this list that shocked the internet with a bizarre viral video featuring 3 puppet-like creatures sitting around a kitchen table, preparing themselves for an adventure no one saw coming. Their names? Becky Sloan and Joseph Pelling. This is the story of Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. Becky Sloan and Joseph Pelling met at Kingston University in London, both helping form This Is It Collective, a group of filmmakers with a background of design and animation, ready to make a name for themselves after just recently finishing their education. They found a niche way to build an audience across seas through the short film format, their first one being a video called Bad Things That Could Happen. The movie plays around with scale and brings objects to life, creating a subverted world where the mundane becomes absurd. This found success for the group, finding itself in articles, blogs, and gaining a fair amount of attention on sites like Vimeo and YouTube. The next few shorts that caught people's attention were the video Christmas cards making their rounds in December of 2010, one for the Future Laboratory and one for the company Sherbet. The latter was directed and helped compose by Joseph Pelling, with Becky working alongside. This little film was stop motion, and all the models were hand-cut from wood and painted. It seems as though the group were forming some success, but needed to take it that one step further if they were really going to make this their full-time job.
Mikos, are you in? Mikos? Here I am.
Becky and Joe slowly started working on more projects with each other during their time at This Is It Collective, as they both quickly realized they had a similar sense of humor. And while they enjoyed working on all these other projects, there was one idea in mind the two really wanted to put together. A web series featuring puppets that would go on adventures and learn about new things every episode. It wasn't supposed to be a deliberate spoof of a kids' TV show, they just really liked the idea of making something with puppets and colourful scenery, as Joe mentioned in an interview during 2011. We had talked for a while about doing something using basic craft artwork, like googly eyes and glitter, and making silly portraits out of tissue paper. It's hard to make a film with Muppet-style puppets without referencing kids' shows, but we knew we weren't trying to make a deliberate spoof, and that's why we had to make it very weird. The other problem lied with their budget. They had no money to fund an entire series of something this ambitious, so they limited themselves to one episode. After raising enough funds and spending an entire weekend in a filming studio that began to smell more and more like rotten meat towards the end of the shoot, they finally had some footage to work with. With help from other individuals from This Is It Collective, along with their friend Baker Terry, voice acting some of the characters, they finally completed the first episode. Sadly, because the two filmmakers were so tired afterwards and overwhelmed by how much it all cost, they decided to scrap the idea of making more episodes. And so, after it was finished, they put it online and went back to their regular jobs, completely oblivious about what was going to happen next. The episode begins with the three colourful characters sitting around a kitchen table in silence, before the notebook sitting next to the yellow guy suddenly flies open, revealing itself to be a sentient being and asking a simple question.
What's your favourite idea? Mine is being creative.
How do you get that idea?
I just try to think creatively. Now when you look at this orange, tell me please, what do you see?
It's just a boring old orange.
Maybe to you, but not to me. I see a silly face.
Whoa!
Walking along and smiling at me.
I don't see what you mean.
'Cause you're not thinking creatively. So take
The notebook begins teaching the characters what creativity is and how they can use it in their everyday life, using examples like an orange sat in a fruit basket and how you could use your imagination to picture it with a face and walking along and smiling at you. Or you can dye your hair a different color and express yourself that way.
So take a look at my hair.
Cool.
I use my hair to express myself.
That sounds really boring.
I use my hair to express myself.
Now with their newfound knowledge of what creativity is, the three main characters put it to the test. As they look out to the window to see the clouds in the sky, what was once boring water vapor mindlessly floating around in the air is now forming shapes that look like everyday objects and animals.
Now, when you stare at the clouds in the sky, don't you find it exciting?
No.
Come on, take another
Oh
look.
wait, I can see a hat. I can see a cat. I can see a man with a baseball bat. I can see a dog. I can see a frog. I can see a ladder leaning on a log.
The yellow guy decides to take it one step further and paints a picture of a clown, which leads to an unexpected shift in tone.
I might paint a picture of a clown.
Whoa there, friend, you might need to slow down.
Silence occurs for a few seconds before the notebook moves swiftly on with her lesson, asking the three individuals to list their favourite colours.
Blue. Green.
Green is not a creative colour.
As the song draws to a close, the teacher believes they now know enough to be creative themselves, and sends them on their way.
Come on, guys, let's get creative. Get creative. Now let's all agree to never be creative again.
From what we figure out within this episode, it isn't really about the subject the puppets are learning, but rather how it's being taught. The notebook sets out to teach the characters on how to be creative, but one of the biggest flaws in the lesson is that it's incredibly restrictive. Destroying the yellow guy's painting or telling him his favourite colour isn't what would be deemed as creative, makes the entire lesson pretty hypocritical. And that's what the creators were going for. The whole idea of the episode is a lighthearted criticism on how art schools try to teach things such as creativity in a certain way, as Becky and Joe stated in an interview in 2011. I don't think we aimed to make a comment on creativity, but we wanted to make light on how creativity and self-expression is basically something very difficult to teach. Creativity is almost always associated with progress and healthy positive expression, but in actual fact, you can get creative with a hammer and a cowpat. And that's what we see at the end. After having the teacher constantly tell the puppets what is and isn't creative, it ends with Becky, Joe, and the rest of the crew having fun on set by throwing around meat, smashing objects, and experimenting with 3D models, no longer conforming to the status quo, and in a sense, rebelling against what would constitute as being creative, as Becky continues in the interview. The crazy sequence was deliberately left unplanned right up until the day we shot it, so most of the ideas came from lots of little meat craft experiments. CGI, meat, and felt are the perfect team for a weird moment. They don't go together at all, and we like the idea of making it uncomfortable for the viewer. After some private screenings, the short film was eventually posted to the This Is It Collective's YouTube channel, where it found immediate success, with the video reaching 1 million views after the first year and amassing an extra 12 million views the following year. Multiple articles and blogs began covering the bizarre piece of media, and even the incredibly popular YouTube channel at the time, The Fine Bros, made a YouTubers react to the short in 2013, giving it an even bigger boost.
Oh my god!
What the f***
While the views continued to rise for the short film, it sparked excitement in Becky and Joe and put the possibility of a Don't Hug Me I'm Scared web series back on the table, but they needed to make some money for it to be possible. So they began selling merchandise of the series and also found themselves working on other projects for individuals they looked up to. In 2012, they worked for the solo artist Tame Impala for the music video Feels Like We Only Go Backwards. The video consisted of psychedelic visuals made from stop motion, to which they sold each frame of the video for £10 on their website. They also worked for the New Zealand rock band Unknown Mortal Orchestra, making a short film for their song Swim and Sleep, which tackled the themes of loneliness and self-love using puppets. This specific video caught most fans' attention, as towards the end of the video, the individual we follow sits beside a calendar that appears to have the date 19th of June, circled with the word birthday underneath. A reference to their short film Don't Hug Me I'm Scared, as that too has a calendar with the date 19th of June. On top of that, the balloons are the same colours as the three main characters, yellow, red, and green. A reference for sure, but could it have been hinting at something more? During this time, they also teamed up with the studio Blink Industries and the UK production company Channel 4, with the idea in mind to finally help fund a sequel to their show. Despite the YouTube channel's original intention to be the postings of This Is It Collective's short films, the Don't Hug Me I'm Scared community was becoming rather large at this point, and had pretty much taken over the channel. While making the sequel, Becky and Joe believed it was only fair to make YouTube its official home. So, at the beginning of 2014, the YouTube channel's name had officially been changed to Don't Hug Me I'm Scared, and a few days later, a teaser trailer dropped on January 2nd. Preparing everyone for the return of their now beloved characters after nearly 3 years of silence.
Come on guys, stop mucking around. We only have 5 minutes until our show's on.
The episode begins very similar to the first, a wide shot featuring all 3 of the main characters. But this time, rather than silence, a ticking sound can be heard in the background. They seem pretty worried about missing their favourite show before the clock comes to life and introduces them to a brand new lesson.
There's always time for a song.
What? Who is that?
Time is a tool you can put on the wall or wear it on your wrist. The past is far behind us. The future doesn't exist.
Oh, what's the time?
It's 9:15. Time to have a bath.
This lesson appears to be about time, and with less than a minute gone by, we can already see the production value has increased exponentially, with now the teacher transporting us to other rooms, no longer confined to just one space.
Let's go on a journey through all time, a time that's changing all the time. It's time to go to time.
But we don't really want to. We're going to miss our show.
Don't be stupid, friends. Come on, it's time to go. Time was old, like a Victorian time. With cobbles and plague and speaking in rhyme.
With cobbles and chimneys, a simpler time.
A similar message is once again being displayed, the idea of trying to teach a very complicated subject in a simplified way, very much like The Notebook, when the 3 individuals start asking more questions or begin doing stuff that isn't part of the teacher's lesson. He interrupts them and tells them that's not what they should be doing.
There's a time and a place for mucking around.
Like birthdays.
And camping.
I'm friends with my dad.
Oh, you can see the importance of time. It helps us make pizza. It keeps things in line.
But when did it start?
And when will it stop?
Time is important, and I am a clock.
If we run out of time, then where does it go?
Is time even real? Does anyone know?
Maybe time's just a construct of human perception, an illusion created by...
Very much like the last episode, it was only a matter of time before something weird was going to happen towards the end. For this particular episode, the creators used the idea of time and aged the puppets at a rapid speed. We watched them helplessly struggle as their bodies slowly decay and fall apart while they beg the teacher to make it stop.
Sunrise, sunset, night and day. The changing seasons, the smell of hay. Look at your hair grow, isn't it strange? How time makes your appearance change.
Make it stop!
It's out of my hands, I'm only a clock. Don't worry, I'm sure you'll be fine. But eventually everyone runs out of time.
This is where more people began to start speculating what was going on within the series' narrative. June 19th still appeared on the calendar, along with having a speculative year for it too. As we see a close-up of the picture frame at the very beginning, there's a date found at the bottom. What the exact year is yet to be determined. 1955, 1855, 2055? It's anyone's guess. There's also the sinister introduction to the yellow guy's father, Roy, an individual we shall talk about later. On top of that, Becky and Joe made a spin-off series that was released at the same time this episode came out, called Craig's Big Day, which according to Becky in an article for Dazed, is the TV show that the puppets were wanting to watch at the very beginning. It follows a man named Craig on his birthday as he opens presents, eats food, and sings a song about killing himself. The usual things you do on a birthday. There's only 3 episodes, each one being no longer than 2 minutes. They're supposedly directed by a guy named Roy, along with the date once again being June 19th, Craig's birthday. The series did not appear on the Don't Hug Me I'm Scared channel, but it can still be found on YouTube if you search up Craig's Big Day.
It's so dark.
It's out of my hands, I'm only a clock.
It's so meta.
You'll be fine, but eventually everyone runs out of time.
And then just back to normal, like nothing happened.
The sequel received overwhelming support this time round. It took a year for the first video to hit 1 million views, yet this one hit 1 million views in just 1 day, sparking more reactions from YouTubers and others across the internet. This had fully solidified what Becky and Joe wanted to do. They were ready to make a series of this. But if that was going to happen, they needed some help.
Huh? Where are we?
This isn't our house.
Oh dear, we're all tied up.
Very strange indeed. I have no memory of tying myself up or falling asleep here.
Why are we in my dad's house?
I don't think this is your dad's house.
Well, whoever lives here certainly needs to have a tidy up. It smells like rats and gasoline. Oh, hello, sir. Is this your house? Well, you could certainly do with getting the feather duster up. What have you got there, sir? A nice bit of tape from...
If you're watching this, then we need your help. We need money. If we don't raise enough, we'll be killed off, and you'll never see us again. How's that? Is that okay?
A Kickstarter campaign was put together by the 2 filmmakers, offering the opportunity to have 4 more episodes of the series released directly to YouTube. A video was attached showing the 3 main characters held hostage, begging for money as ransom. If the money isn't delivered in time, the characters will be killed off, and we will never get to see them again. A rather clever premise, and also a perfect video to have individuals speculate where the series may go, as the date 1905-55 can be seen in the corner of the shot. On top of that, the yellow guy seemingly gives a throwaway line of, "Why are we in my dad's house?" To which Becky made a post on Twitter a few months later, welcoming people to Roy's basement, with a similar looking wall to where our puppets currently were. The goal was to raise £96,000, averaging £24,000 per episode. They received overwhelming support from people online, although one individual thought it'd be a good idea to hack a credit card and add £35,000 to the project, which put a little damper on things near the end. But after it was resolved, they still managed to fly over the finish line, ending with £105,000 for their small web series to come to life. It was planned for every episode to be released 3 months apart, but it seems production took a little longer than expected, meaning they decided to release the series over the course of the next 2 years, with the plan to have the final episode released on June 19th, 2016. Episode 3 was released just in time for Halloween in 2014, taking place outside for the first time with the 3 main characters having a lovely picnic, despite a missing poster being seen on the trees, suggesting our beloved individuals have been missing since June 19th, hinting at a potential correlation with the Kickstarter video. After being distracted by a butterfly, the yellow guy is shocked to see it swatted by the duck and runs away in tears. It is then when we are introduced to our 3rd teacher of the series.
He seems upset about something. I wonder what will happen.
It makes you sad, doesn't it? That there's so much hatred in the world. I hope you don't mind if I ask you a question.
A little baby pigeon.
Have you ever wondered why we're here? What's it all about? You've no idea. And everywhere you look, all you see is hatred and darkness, death and fear. But you know it doesn't have to be that I hate you and you hate me. 'Cause even though we're different, it doesn't make a difference, and we can live in harmony. I know you don't know who I am, but maybe I could hold your hand, and together we could understand about love.
Huh? I feel tingly.
Yes, that's love, my friend, and it's time for you to learn all about it.
The butterfly then takes a childlike yellow guy on a journey through the clouds to teach him about love, another complex subject being taught in a simplified way.
And do you ever feel like life's unfair? 'Cause everybody hates you and no one cares. But if you follow me, maybe you will see that love is everywhere.
What is love? Is it in the sky?
No, it's a feeling deep inside.
Because I'm hungry.
No, you're lonely. I can see it in your eyes.
I don't understand.
Don't worry, you will soon. Come and meet some of my friends. They know all about love. Come on, just over the rainbow.
Oh, look, there he goes, flying through the sky.
Maybe we should follow him, or we'll get left behind.
We follow the butterfly to his friends as we begin to understand more about love. The yellow guy attempts to show love to the trees and other objects, but unfortunately is interrupted by the butterfly as he tells him he's doing it wrong, and in fact, he needs to save his love for his special one, claiming that everyone has a special one, and decides to use the story of Michael, the loneliest boy in town, as the perfect piece of evidence for this.
This is the story of Michael, the loneliest boy in town. This is the story of Michael, the ugliest boy in town. Ugly and weak, they called him a freak, so he lived on his own underground. He lived on his own underground. He lived on his own underground.
You see, everyone has a special one.
Silence echoes through the group before they move swiftly on. They completely ignore the fact that Michael had no one by the end of the story, and continue to believe that everyone does indeed have a special one, despite that clearly not being the case in this example. The song continues as they keep hammering home this is the way it's always been. A girl and a boy, protected with a ring.
And now we all worship our king. Our king. Our king. His name is Malcolm.
He is the king of love.
We must feed him.
We
We must feed him gravel.
Or he becomes angry. And this is your chance to start anew. And all we're asking you to do
is change your name,
clean your brain,
forget about anything you ever knew.
And your heart will vanish home.
And our love will never go.
Now wear this ring
and join the king.
And you will never be alone.
The episode ends with the yellow guy waking up from what appeared to have been a nightmare. His friends have found him and saved him a snack because they love him.
For me?
Father! Pesky bee!
So obviously this episode once again did a similar thing in giving the characters a new lesson. However, unlike the first two episodes that seemed to mainly be poking fun at how hard it is to teach complicated subjects, this one seems to focus much more on showing the negatives of doing so, and how people can be manipulative in teaching it, overlooking facts for the sake of believing in something just because it's always been like that. Yellow Guy is essentially indoctrinated into a cult. They clearly lie about the subject they teach him, even when they're faced with evidence opposing their views, like Malcolm, the loneliest boy in town. They completely overlook the fact that he still lives on his own. They tell him he only has a certain amount of love to give, and he has to save it for his special one, which can be symbolized with a ring in marriage while worshipping their king, a very clear reference to religion. Now we're starting to understand why simplifying complicated lessons can be damaging. There is no one specific way to love. Just like time and creativity, it's taught in a certain way, but this time far more maliciously, with the intent of forcing someone to live their life like this, which could cause them to feel guilty if they ever decided to live it differently, mentally affecting them for the rest of their life. I'm trying my best not to speak for the creators in this video, but in this instance it feels as though Becky and Joe had a very strong opinion on this episode in particular, as the message appears to be far more clear compared to other installments. On the speculative side of things, people quickly pointed out that Roy can be seen in the background with other cult members, along with his name appearing at the end of the credits, followed by the missing poster suggesting these characters have in fact been kidnapped, and no one knows where they are. All of this only added to the excitement, as fans gathered around waiting for the next installment to be released. Episode 4 came out on April 1st, 2015, putting us back in the home of the three individuals as they appear to be playing a board game.
Oh, I guess it's my turn to choose a card. Let's see. What is the biggest thing in the world?
That's a tricky one.
A mountains? A sky? A windmill?
No!
The board game foreshadows the events that are about to play out, as we see the red piece is closest to the exit, while the other pieces are miles away. And that's what we see throughout this episode. Red Guy seems to be very aware something is not right, while the other two seem completely oblivious. After hearing the question, what is the biggest thing in the world, the Red Guy tries to focus on the globe, expecting it to come alive and be the next teacher. However, our expectations are subverted.
Wow, look!
I'm a computer. I'm a computery guy. Everything made out of buttons and wires. I'd like to show you inside my digital life. Inside my mind there is a digital mind.
Red Guy seems to be trying to take control of the situation, but no matter what he says, the computer ignores him and continues with its lesson.
Actually, we already have a computer.
Great news! Now, before we begin our journey, I just need to get some information from you. What's your name? Where do you live? What do you like to eat?
I live in my house.
Spaghetti!
Well, my name is...
Great news! Now just a few more questions and we'll be on our way.
Wait a second.
What's your favourite colour?
Stop talking.
Do you like cows or goat's milk?
Be quiet.
Do you have brown hair? What is your blood type? Are you allergic
Shut
to
up!
Don't touch me!
What?
After touching the computer's keys, we fall into a black void, hearing screams in the background before we jump back to the characters and the teacher. This time, they appear to be 3D models. We're now inside the computer, and it appears our new lesson is going to be about the internet. Our brand new leader takes us on a journey through his world, telling us there are only 3 things to do. Look at graphs, digital style, and digital dancing. Then repeat the cycle all day long.
But in this digital world, what can we do? What can we do?
Hey, good question. Well, it's up to you. In the digital world, there's over 3 things to do.
Wow, look at pie chart.
Digital style.
Do a digital dancing. Hey, this is fun.
Wow, look at bar graph.
Digital style.
Do a digital dancing. Hey, this is fun.
Wow, look at line graph.
Digital style.
Do a digital dancing. Hey, this is fun.
Wow, look at oblong.
Digital style.
Do a digital dancing. Hey, this is fun.
As the computer repeats these 3 things over and over and over again, the red guy appears to be slowly consumed by it all, before finding a red cord leading to the other room, while Roy watches. When stepping through, he's greeted to a set that appears to be creating a low-budget version of the first episode. With individuals in masks propping up the characters, a voice can be heard on a recording that says, "You are not invited to the party." As the red guy's mind is completely blown, the credits roll, and the episode ends. This particular chapter appears to be the first one that starts to deviate away from the main structure of these episodes. It still has the main teacher delivering a subject to learn in a simplified way and not really being accurate about anything they say, but it goes a little beyond that and focuses more on the effects the internet can have and how addictive it can actually be once you're consumed by it. Doing 3 simple things over and over and over again. On top of that, we also seem to be following more of a narrative this time round. Having the red guy being aware that something is wrong and trying to do something about it creates a sense of unease. Usually the unease has come from puppets literally being tortured in the last few episodes, but this time it comes from the fear of what might happen rather than what actually is happening. A mystery is almost forming now, with Roy once again appearing at the end of the credits, the missing poster appearing on the milk carton, and Red Guy stepping out of the room to find out it's all just a set. Something bigger appears to be afoot. Episode 5, once again uploading just in time for Halloween in 2015, confirms that we're building to some sort of climax, as we are back in the kitchen with Duck and Yellow Guy. But this time, the red guy is missing.
Something's different.
While their statements are very clearly in reference to the red guy, there's also a slight nod to the fact that we're back in the kitchen and it's completely different from episode 1. Doc claims there's something missing, before looking over to the fridge to see a picture of him, the yellow guy, and the red guy. It cuts back to him trying to put the pieces together before it cuts back to the picture and reveals that the red guy is now outside of the window and the Doc's eyes are now covered with X's. Once again, foreshadowing future events. Now the viewers are nervous. This is not going to be just your typical lesson.
Is it this guy?
Fish and chips. Steak and beef. Chicken-a-chow. Grapes and eggs. Steak, eggs.
Are you hungry? You look to be a bit hungry.
No.
Do. Lots of people get hungry.
That's your body. Hungry comes from your body.
Get off me.
We're not only greeted by one object coming to life this time, but several.
What's that? A tasty snack. You don't want to go and eat a snack like that.
Greedy to eat all that, you'll end up with your teeth all grey.
Do.
Do it healthy.
Food is talking.
While the yellow guy is distracted and has already completely forgotten what they were talking about at the very beginning, the Duck is very clearly unnerved by it all. Something is wrong, but he just can't quite put his finger on it. The two teachers continue their song, and even follow it up by a tap dance by the steak. That is until... teachers appear terrified as the red phone begins ringing. The doc moves slowly towards it, reaching out in hopes to find answers on the other end. But...
Hello?
What's right from wrong?
He wakes up in some kind of hospital while episode 5 continues playing on the monitor in front of him.
The body is like a special house, with blood, hair, and organs in the different rooms. Oh look, there's Mr. Bladder in the basement.
What?
The teachers continue and act as if nothing ever happened. Although we see an image once again of Red Guy stood behind a window, looking in from the outside, almost as if he's calling out to the duck in hopes he wakes up. Which seems to be working, as now the duck is openly questioning what on earth these creatures are talking about.
That doesn't make sense.
Be help me.
Hello?
What's that? A tasty snack? You don't want to go and eat a snack like that.
Tensions are beginning to rise. The duck just wants to know what's happening, but he's just been getting showered by different objects coming to life and having themselves constantly being teleported from room to room. It's just too much. He can't take it. Something is building up inside of him, and it's only a matter of time before...
Or it could be too late.
The camera is knocked over, and we see Roy standing over the set, watching the whole thing play out, followed by a red guy standing on the other side of the camera as it falls to the ground, crashing. We're met with darkness as the sound of the hospital slowly rises to the surface. The atmospheric music increases as we open our eyes to try and make out some kind of object towering above us, chuckling to itself. We look to the side and see episode 5 still playing on the monitor. However, this time, the duck is no longer there.
What's that? A pizza slice? But you're better off with plain white sauce.
What's that? Plain white sauce? Plain white sauce makes your teeth go grey.
Doesn't matter, just throw it away. Why not try something else on your tray?
We cut back to the hospital room with the can of food chuckling to itself as it makes its way towards the duck and begins eating his insides. The episode once again spirals out of control, ending with a shot of the yellow guy sitting at the kitchen table in the dark, alone, his face completely stuffed with feathers after being forced to eat his friend. It ends as the red guy walks away after failing to wake up his two companions from the world they appear to be trapped in. We're left with a lot to think about for this installment. From its lesson about healthy eating, and at the end of the day we don't really know what we're putting inside of us, to the narrative side of things where Duck is very clearly noticing an absence of the red guy, and no matter how much the teachers try to distract him, he still is persistent in wanting to know answers. To which it seems they're left with no other choice, and are forced to kill him off at the very end. The yellow guy, however, seems to be so lost in this world that even the red phone calling out to him at the very end didn't seem to do anything, leaving the red guy with no other choice but to walk away. An extra little Easter egg can be found at the end of the video, with a real UK phone number found on the red booth. It doesn't work anymore if you call it, but if you were lucky enough to watch the episode during the first 2 weeks of its release and then call it up, you'd be greeted by some of the characters.
Hello?
Hello? Who is it?
This is,
I don't like it. I don't like it.
The person on the other end was Baker Terry, who voices most of the characters and was writing the scripts with Becky and Joe. According to an interview on The Guardian, this is what happened. "You'd have to zoom in to see it," she says, "but we put the film online and within a second it was ringing. We kept answering it because we felt bad, pretending to be the characters. In the end, Terry took it home. I obsessively answered it for 2 weeks, he says, until my wife was like, fuck this. There's also a YouTube channel called I'm Reddish that has the phone number as one of their YouTube videos, which seems to be behind the scenes shots from the show. My only problem is there has been no confirmation that this was ever made by the creators, as the videos are actually just re-uploads from things found on Becky and Joe's social media. The only reason I'm even mentioning this is because it has so many subscribers and views, yet there's nothing on the channel that proves it's legit, and the creators have never talked about it. I guess while we're on the topic of hoaxes, there is a TikTok account that impersonates characters from the show and then structures their videos in a way that suggests they either created the show or voiced the characters. I'm not mentioning their name because I'm pretty sure they're just fans that don't mean any harm in what they're doing, and their channel has a lot of variety that could lead them to doing interesting and unique things in the future. But these particular TikToks they made have caused some confusion from time to time, including for myself, and apparently has had a lot of fans having to explain to newcomers that this individual has nothing to do with the show. So what I'm saying is, just be a little skeptical if you ever find something like that online. Maybe look it up if you're unsure of its authenticity. As the months drew ever so closer to June 19th, 2016, theories of the show skyrocketed across the internet, and excitement was probably at its highest for the show. And a few months before the final episode was released, Becky and Joe teamed up with the clothing brand Lazy Oaf and posted an interview online for It's Nice That with the 3 main characters. The first few questions were the same ones asked in episode 4 by the computer, but then they went on to more random questions, to which received pretty random answers. The biggest question that caught a lot of people off guard, however, was the one given to Roy at the very end. Roy, do you have anything to add? My silly boy has allowed his eyes to grow arrogant and rude. For this, I will take him on a trip to Punish Land. Roy was becoming a much more prominent character now. After being seen several times in the background, all the food in episode 5 seemingly made by Roy, and now with this answer popping up, it seemed as though he was going to have a much bigger part to play in the final episode of Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. As the finale begins, we appear in a room with 3 beds, clearly for all the characters, but only one of them is present, the yellow guy, crying over photos of the past as he wishes his friends a good night.
Good night, guys. I miss you.
Oh, somebody's sleepy.
Huh?
But that's silly.
No.
We're introduced to what appears to be our final teacher, although the yellow guy is having none of this, flicking the switch and going back to sleep. Sadly, that's not how this works.
How can you be sleepy if you don't know how to have dreams?
No, I don't want to know. I don't want to know how to have dreams. No! No!
Dreams are movies that live in your head.
Stop!
Every night when you sleep in your bed. You could have a dream about riding a horse.
No!
Or you could have a dream about drowning in oil.
No more songs!
As he continues to be tortured by the talking lamp with a lesson about dreams, it cuts to a shot of the red guy sitting at a desk, being awoken by another red guy, asking to file some files. Not only does the whole world seem to be no longer made of felt, but the aspect ratio appears to have changed too, followed by the red guy actually wearing clothes. Before deciding to file them, he offers a solution to make the job seem a little more fun. What if this file came to life? Perhaps it did a little song.
I am a file and you put documents in me and a a file. Funny silly file. A You know, it did it like a song. No. That sounds really boring.
A reference to Red Guy's original line from the first episode after the notebook said she used her hair to express herself. Now we see the world the red guy appears to be living in, very drab, dull, and boring. As he sits in some kind of pub listening to other mundane conversations of groups around him, taking in the sounds of the piano keys being smacked over and over, before he decides he's had enough and takes center stage.
But that's rude. No clothes. What's your favourite idea? Mine is being creative. How do you get the idea? I just try to think creatively. When you look at this orange, tell me please, what do you see? It's just a boring old orange. Or maybe to you, but not to me. I see a silly face, walking along and smiling at me. I don't see what you mean. Cause you're not thinking
I don't
creatively.
like it. Really not good.
I use my hair to express
It's not very good at all. Not good.
As he attempts to sing the original song from the first episode and reveals the two other characters to be just merely puppets on his hand, he hears nothing but boos from the crowd, telling him to get off the stage. There's nothing for him here. That is until he looks up and peers through the crowd of red individuals and notices a familiar face sat in the corner. Roy.
Don't stop now, friend. Your voice is music to my face.
The mic then comes to life and he is transported to some kind of black void. Everyone is gone. But he hears a faint noise in the distance. Intrigued, he follows the sounds, leading to a giant machine that appears to be running the Don't Hug Me I'm Scared series.
You can have a dream about losing your friends. You can have a dream about burning your friends.
Time is a tool you can put on the wall or wear it on your wrist. The past is far behind us. The future doesn't exist.
As he pushes a button, the lamp transforms into Tony the Clock from episode 2 and begins singing the song about time. It appears this machine is creating these teachers. He pushes another button, and then the computer arrives, and then the butterfly, and then the steak, and then...
It's on my tray? What? Where am I?
We are in the universe. Planets live inside the moon. A rocket ship.
New characters begin to arrive and start teaching new lessons while the red guy pushes button after button, creating more and more, including the file from the very beginning of the episode. It all goes very well, until someone reaches out from the darkness. After being faced by Roy, the red guy follows the wire attached to the machine, leading to a giant plug. He holds onto it and stares directly towards the camera and says,
I wonder what will happen.
After unplugging, the screen shuts down and reboots. We're back in the original kitchen, except all appliances are gone. The characters are their favorite colors from the original, the date changes from June 19th to the 20th, and the notebook finally opens up and begins singing the song of creativity. While all installments of the show can be left up to interpretation of what exactly is happening in the narrative of the series, Episode 6 leaves it massively open-ended. How does it connect to the other episodes? Does it connect to the other episodes? Is this one just a self-contained story? Where exactly is the red guy? Is this the real world? Is this another fake world? What happened at the end? So many questions that could be answered differently depending on who you speak to. And I think that's the intention of the episode. I don't think Becky and Joe set out to have answers to anything they put in previous pieces, but instead, they use this final episode to tell a completely different story. This time, they told the story of their lives through the Don't Hug Me I'm Scared characters. Joe has stated before that he used to work at a call center, and that's clearly what inspired this scene of Red Guy working at one, especially considering Joe is the voice of Red Guy. The creators have even said in interviews that Red Guy is supposed to be the middleman, the one that can represent the audience and what they're thinking while the weirdness goes on. So it's very possible they used him to represent themselves in this final episode too, living in a world that felt so drab, so boring, lacking creativity. That is until he puts a performance together about being creative, the original song from the first installment. While the outside world boos him, the microphone comes to life and tells him he actually enjoys it, suggesting that while people in the real world were against the idea, Becky, Joe, and Baker found an audience somewhere else. And that's where he teleports to. He travels to the world that allows him to create more of these bizarre puppets and songs, while simultaneously torturing the yellow guy. I mean, that is essentially what Becky and Joe do. They put this character through so much trauma similar to what Red Guy does here. The episode's main lesson is also about dreams. This is what Becky and Joe's dream was, to become filmmakers, and this show made that possible. This community made that dream possible. And that's what I think they're trying to display here. They went from a boring office job to finally having the freedom to do what they wanted. And the episode ends with what I can only describe as the creators letting the characters go, being free to be the colors they've always wanted to be, no longer under the strings of Becky, Joe, and Baker. Having the date finally changed to June 20th suggests they've moved on. Which obviously didn't happen, but in their defense, this episode was made at a time where they weren't actually sure if they were going to continue the series, so by their logic at this time, it was in fact the end. It may not sound as satisfying as Red Guy breaking free from the media, controlling everyone like the film theorists suggest, or that it's all about the Red Guy letting go of his childhood like my old theory, but sometimes things are just far more simpler than what first appears. But that's not to say you can't enjoy the theory that MatPat came up with, or the theory that I came up with, or that you can't come up with your own interpretation of how the show functions, because if anything, that's what the creators want you to do. I don't think there was actually a story in this show, but rather Becky and Joe added more mystery as the episodes went on, because every time they added in an Easter egg or some kind of mysterious sequence that alluded to something bigger, the fans got, wait for it, creative, coming up with such a variety of different theories about how each episode connects and what it all could mean. It's exactly what the creators want. Becky and Joe have openly stated that they have read many theories, and they're all correct. And every time this is brought up, I tend to see a lot of individuals upset by this, as they think it's a cop-out answer, because by this logic you could essentially say, I think they are all condiments at a hot dog restaurant, and the show was made up by the owner of the restaurant to sell more hot dogs. Red Guy is ketchup, yellow guy represents mustard, and duck represents relish. That was an actual theory on Reddit by Toon Fox. Which, yeah, that does sound a little silly when you apply that to the creator's logic, but by coming to this conclusion, hasn't this person done the exact thing the creators want? Isn't this answer being creative? To come up with something like this off the top of their head so fast? I mean, maybe it didn't come off the top of their head, maybe they spent hours on that, I don't really know. The point is, by this logic, making their own theory, they've demonstrated creativity with their own interpretation and haven't just blindly followed what others think. Plus, if the creators came out and decided to tell you exactly how to perceive the show, wouldn't that mean they're doing the exact thing they're criticizing? They'd have an entire fanbase all thinking the exact same way, knowing that only one theory is correct. They'd all be just a bunch of red guys walking around, going about their day in a world so boring. When interviewed about the show and asked about online theories, they never mention the popular theories. They always go to the obscure ones. And I think going through this whole series again, it does feel at times they are intentionally muddying the waters so no one can come up with the same interpretation, which I think fits the series rather well, and has only made the fans more creative with their ideas of the series. And with that concluding the web series, it leads us perfectly on to what happens next. After a year of the final episode being released and met with incredible success, it seemed as though everyone was moving on to other adventures. Becky, Joe, and Baker had found themselves working on The Amazing World of Gumball for Cartoon Network, with an episode that featured a puppet-style world from the characters' childhood.
Here we are.
Dance around and sing a song. The fun will never stop. Yeah!
We have fun all day long. It says so on the clock.
So wear a hat, wear no hat.
Or wear two hats if you prefer.
An episode that was well received by its fans, and even encouraged me to return back to the web series nearly 2 years later to see if I'd perceive the show any differently, after spending such a long time away. But an itch must have still been in the back of the creators' minds to do more with these characters. While YouTube was officially their home for 6 whole episodes, the creators had always wondered what they could do if they were ever given the opportunity to put the series on the small screen for a much longer running time. As Becky stated in an interview by The Guardian, "There's still scope to do something really interesting with them on TV," she says. "It's still the most powerful medium we have." A teaser trailer was uploaded on the 13th of September 2018, revealing that the characters may in fact be returning, but this time for their very own TV show. It seemed to be taking place with the characters reverting back to their original colours, along with the date also being June 19th, suggesting that we were in fact seeing some kind of reboot unrelated to the web series. They were also really showing how much bigger the budget was going to be this time round, having the characters seemingly live in a small town called Clay Hill, filled with multiple characters. It wasn't that cut and dry though. The teaser we saw was actually clips from just one pilot episode they were able to put together, and they had plans to use it as a means to draw attention from other film studios and help fund the rest of the episodes. So even though we now had confirmation that something like this was in the works, we were more than likely going to be waiting a while before the series would ever surface to the public. The pilot was, however, leaked online not too long after, albeit not with the greatest of quality, and was missing some of it. But from what we saw, the set design, the characters, the songs, all looked great. But it definitely seemed to have lost its feel of what Don't Hug Me I'm Scared was. As Becky, Joe, and Baker had spoken more about it in an interview with The Guardian, it lost its feel of claustrophobia, and the people within the village felt a little too much like South Park. So it was eventually scrapped, and they went back to the drawing board.
Good evening. The coronavirus is the biggest threat this country has faced for decades.
COVID-19, Co for corona, Vi for virus, D for disease, and 19 because it started last year.
In 2020, the world was faced with a global pandemic. COVID-19 was spreading at a rapid pace across the world, and before we knew it, most countries, including the United Kingdom, had gone into lockdown. Faced with isolation themselves and forced to write the scripts over Zoom meetings, seemed to put a spark back into the hearts of the creators when writing these characters, bringing back that much-needed claustrophobia that previous ideas had lacked. Once they were back out, they managed to team up with Channel 4 once more, and this time, being given the green light to make 6 20-minute episodes of Don't Hug Me I'm Scared. The previous trailer had been removed from YouTube, and on June 19th, 2022, we were faced with the promise of 6 brand new episodes to be released in September, only 3 months later.
Pesky bee.
Nothing was really given away in this trailer other than the fact that it was still June 19th. However, once the series was eventually released, we can clearly see the date is actually the 20th of June, suggesting that they didn't want to give anything away for the upcoming series, so they digitally removed the 20th back to the 19th. Or maybe they changed it at the last second, I'm not really sure. And so, the moment we had all been waiting for. After 6 long years, 6 brand new episodes were released all at once on the streaming service All 4.
There's 3 of us, there's 3 of us. Look closely, you will see. There's 3 of us, just 3 of us. There's him and you and me.
In just the intro alone, we're already greeted by Roy in the background, as we can see him peeking through a hole in the wall as the camera quickly pans across. Now we have our characters back, ready to tell a story in a new form.
Well, what are we supposed to be doing now?
What?
I would like to know what's meant to happen today.
Right, yeah. Let me check the schedule. Oh. Says here we don't have anything planned. Says we're doing nothing.
What? Nothing?
Nothing at all. That's what it says on the schedule.
No, we need to do something. Especially me.
Honestly, I don't mind it. How about we just give it another 20 minutes?
No, it's too dull.
At first it takes a little while to get used to the new format, as with such a longer running time compared to its web series version, it had more time to breathe, giving more dialogue to the main characters and having them communicate with each other a lot more, establishing much more personality with each one. After figuring out their schedule is nothing to do for the day, they're greeted with a briefcase that's in a hurry to go to work. To which the characters seem to have never heard of such a thing, meaning we receive our very first musical number by a teacher.
You can be anything you want to do, it's totally up to you. Even if you don't know what to do, I can help you, show you. You can be the guy who types so fast on computer. Clackety 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 clack. Or you can be the one who kicks so hard at a football. It's a goal. Or you could be the one who bangs the hammer when he's angry. Order.
After being fascinated by the idea of a job, the last example the briefcase gives us is work in a factory. But as the characters follow him to the cupboard, it appears he's gone. The characters are stranded, and instead are going to have to deal with what it's like working at a factory.
Sorry to interrupt, guys. Have any of you seen a strange, box person?
Box? Eh?
No, he's more of a business bag. His brown bag.
A phone can be heard ringing in the boss's office. Red Guy, being frustrated at the fact that no one is answering it, goes to check it out himself, while the others take a closer look at what these strange-looking individuals are doing.
What are you doing?
We're making bits and parts.
Although sometimes I feel a bit like the parts are making me.
Oh,
That makes me laugh.
Yep, I'm a bit of a cheeky guy sometimes.
Yeah, I wish.
You and whose army? Good job, teammate. That's what I call a quality product.
As we can see here, clay comes out from the pipe in a lump, and it's required by the workers to mold it into a certain object, before it's sucked back into the tube and pushed back out as a blob again, causing the cycle to repeat for the full day. That is, unless you're Doc and you struggle to make a product.
Here, let me have a go.
What? Oh dear.
Hey, my thing that I did.
The group are becoming more and more accustomed to the life of a factory worker. Well, Yellow Guy is, while the Doc is mainly wanting to find a way out of this place, believing to be above the individuals who are in the same room as him. In response to this, it appears he's getting punished for his choices, which becomes most prominent when the group breaks for lunch.
You must be the new guy I've been hearing so much about. How are you?
How is your child?
Good, thank you.
You don't have a child.
One restaurant-style lasagna coming up. And don't forget your hot black water on the house. It's good.
Lunch.
All right, machine. I'd like 2 of everything, please.
Ooh, I'm sorry. It looks like you forgot your lunch tokens.
What? Nobody else had tokens.
Don't worry. You can still get a meal from the free vending machine.
Hi. What can I get you?
Do you have the lasagna?
Yeah, I reckon. Hold your hand out then.
Okay.
Actually, that's too much. Put some back.
No. Meanwhile, it seems as though Red Guy has got himself a job as being the boss of the whole factory, answering calls, yelling, firing people, and having most people do the work for him.
Oh, hello.
You alright? Working hard or hardly working, hey?
You didn't wash your hands.
Yeah, so what? Somebody else would do it. Anyway, back to the grindstone, hey?
While the yellow guy and red guy continue working, it comes down to the doc to try and put an end to it all, trying to find out who's really behind all this. But while in the elevator, he's interrupted with the machine that runs it, claiming he's stressed. Maybe he needs to see the care hound to help fix his problems.
Just whisper your complaints very quietly into the mouth of the care hound.
Shouldn't I whisper into its ear?
No, just right into the mouth of the care hound. Get it all out. There you are. So, how are you feeling?
I feel like I'd better get back to work.
Glad to have you back on board.
He steps out into the factory, and it appears as though there's been a time jump. Everyone is greeting him as if he's a new employee, telling him about a worker who's planning to retire. What we weren't expecting was to see a decrepit old red guy who gives a speech to an elderly yellow guy while his wife and kid stands next to him.
Many years. Wait. This isn't...
Of course, he's joined by his beautiful wife Claire and his lovely daughter Janet. Yay! And I think everyone might agree with me when I say, what a guy!
40 years! Can you believe it?
The big 4-0.
No, I can't.
We're 20 minutes into the episode, and that claustrophobia has been there since the beginning. The feeling of being trapped, the feeling of building up to a tipping point. It's only a matter of time until...
This isn't what we're supposed to be doing!
Oh my God, we're too old.
Finally, the accident!
Yeah, it is here! This does make me appreciate not being in an accident. I feel so alive, yeah?
Do something!
You're fired!
Not that!
As everything finally spirals out of control, the doc reaches out for the healthcare box, only to find out the briefcase was in there the entire time.
Oh, you could be the one who gets the post from the post box. Oh, you could be the one who paints a picture with a paintbrush.
Wait, what?
Or you could be the one who makes the shoes for the horse feet.
So, where's my phone?
Or you could be the one who spends all day with the sad ones.
What?
And you can be anything you want to do.
Everything appears to have been reverted back to normal. They're now back in the house, having learned about work. Although before the briefcase leaves, the doc asks what was it all for? What's the purpose of doing a job? To which the briefcase answers by giving him a coin for his troubles.
I almost forgot. You've earned this.
And that's where the episode concludes. It takes a while to get used to the format the show has set up for itself, which is something it had to do if it was ever going to succeed in a 20-minute runtime, but I can say after finally adjusting, it absolutely benefits from the longer run. It gives it far more room to build up to the crazy end sequence, making it all that more shocking when we finally arrive. On top of that, having the time to explore these characters' personalities, what they like, how they think, builds a much more stronger connection with viewers, which also benefits the crazy segment as you grow to care about these characters way more than you would in the web series. Now having that freedom of no longer being confined to a shorter time span, the characters can also learn about their experiences rather than just a teacher telling them about it. That leaves the door open for characters to see how the world really is and not just what they're told. There's also some interesting ideas thrown in here that do get built on a little as the episodes continue, such as the clay machine and how Duck is able to use it to create life, but we'll expand on that a little more when we go through the other episodes.
Well, I'm dead.
Huh? What?
I'm dead. Says here, I'm definitely dead.
Episode 2 is quite possibly my favourite of the whole series. I'm still debating, it's either 2 or 5. The episode doesn't mess around and throws us straight into what it's going to be about, death and grieving. Yes, it appears the Duck guy has died, and after a talking coffin appears from the floorboards, the gang begin putting together a funeral for him, which arguably leads to the best song of the whole series.
We gotta get things ready for the big day, big day. We gotta get things ready for the special day.
Cutting out bunting and making a cake.
It's a celebration for our best mate.
Dressing up smart and wearing smart shoes. Need to figure out which tie to choose.
We gotta get things ready for the big day, big day. We gotta get things ready for the special day. Combing my hair.
Brushing my teeth.
Ironing my socks.
Laying out treats.
Putting my card in the envelope.
Washing up plates in the kitchen sink.
First you heat up the margarine.
Make sure you're using fresh minced beef.
Then you need to get the pastry dish.
And add a little bit more margarine. We gotta get things ready for the big day.
Huh? What are we doing?
Oh no, it's the funeral. It's the funeral, sorry.
The rest of the episode mainly follows Red Guy and Yellow Guy dealing with the loss of a friend. Red Guy also believes it's probably best they should move on, and maybe look at the possibility of getting a replacement. Something Yellow Guy is not too fond of.
Hello, I am Mrs. Grouch. Nice to meet you.
Hey, she seems fun. Says she's a classic.
And look, I have a hat for weekends.
Nice.
And a cheeky sense of humour.
And she comes with her own debt.
Cheeky credit card debt.
Already in loads of debt.
What about this guy? He looks fun, and he's got his own catchphrase.
Fudge.
That can't be right.
I like fudge.
Oh, he's too opinionated.
Alright, well, what about Lucky Mo? He's on special offer. He's got no opinions and no reviews.
I'm up for anything. Let's have fun. Or not have fun.
Oh, no, I don't like him. I don't like any of them.
Hey.
I want the old one back.
Yeah.
After knocking over the kit, it appears to have brought to life a clay creature. And so, rather than molding it into one of the characters on the list, they just decide to have it the way it is. Well, the red guy does, the yellow guy not so much. Meanwhile, it appears the Duck is getting bored of being dead and is constantly driving the coffin crazy with playing music, scratching on the side of his body as he counts the seconds he's been down there.
Yes, what do you want?
Look, I've made some new friends. Tickles?
Great. Yep, that's all part of it.
I wonder what my old friends are doing.
They're probably just trying to move on. Speaking of which, you should probably...
Move on? Move on to what?
Well, when somebody goes away, they tend to... Ow! What are you doing?
Just keeping track of time.
But we've only been here for half a day.
I'm doing it in seconds.
What? We've obviously been here for more than 5 seconds.
Have we? Oh.
Stop it! What's that smell?
Oh, yes. Turns out I did need the toilet, actually. Quite a lot. Maybe that's what the tally was for.
Towards the end of the episode, it seems as though the yellow guy misses Duck so much that he goes out in the middle of the night and digs him back up. However, while he was gone, it seems as though the red guy has molded the clay creatures into another duck, leaving us with a bit of a predicament.
Well, now there's 4 of us.
There's 4 of us. There's 4 of us. Look closely, you will see. There's 4 of us. Just 4 of us. There's him and you and me.
And me.
And every day we all hang out to find out what we talk about. Sometimes we have too much fun. We have to go to bed.
Actually, no. 4 doesn't work. There's 3 of us.
This episode focuses much more on humour this time round, which is probably why I enjoy it quite a lot. It's just all 3 characters learning about grief and being bombarded with random teachers checking in on them. This also seems to be the first one that starts playing around with the fans who like to make theories about the show. No one actually knows the official name of these characters other than Yellow Guy having the letter D on his chest, so it's always been something fans have questioned, meaning it was a big surprise to see the name David carved into the tombstone of Duck, only to have this as the response.
Why does it say David?
That's his name. He's David.
What? That's supposed to be your name.
What's his name?
What, the stone? It doesn't have a name, it's a stone.
Right, this is very confusing. Change it to my name, then.
Well, I can't now. It's already engraved. I can't unchisel it, can I?
Why not? I know. Why don't you write David's name on me?
Okay, let's crack on, shall we?
We also get this conversation with Yellow Guy and the lamp where they start talking about some kind of beings underground at the center of the earth.
What do you think happens when we die? Do we ever come back?
Well, I guess nobody really knows. Something tells me that when we die, we go into the center of the earth. Well, it's not quite the center. It's in between the core and the surface. And we must relive our lives, but as a performance for a new super race known as the Council. And every time you get it right, you get £1.
But what?
I need to go to sleep now. Good night.
Along with the fact we have another creature come to life from clay, just like we saw in episode 1, except this time we saw Red Guy mold the creature into another duck, having the beak put in its mouth and then later revealing he turned it into a complete replica, suggesting that these characters could be made from clay for all we know. Questions arise even higher when one duck is killed off at the very end, but we actually don't know which one. Before the song begins, the original duck is stood on the right, while the claymation creature that was molded into the duck is on the left. After the song ends, it's revealed the duck on the right is the one killed off, something that I believe is very intentionally put in by the creators to ask the question, which one really died? And if the original did die, does it matter? It seems as though they can just be easily replaced whenever they like, using this magical clay.
There's 3 of us, there's 3 of us. Look closely, you will see. There's 3 of us, just 3 of us. There's him and you and me. And every day we all hang out to find out what we talk about.
And I'm the one who is quite tall.
And I'm the one who's going bald.
And I've gone bald as well.
After leaning into more of the comedy elements in episode 2, episode 3 definitely leans far more into horror. After finding a packet of Chuddle Dollops outside, the group are greeted with a pair of twins.
Why not try a healthy option? Did you know that preservatives...
Oh dear, Todney. Looks like these guys need our help. Hooray, Lily. There's nothing we like more than to help.
This appears to be the first time the characters are interacting with human-looking teachers who can't wait to talk about family and the importance of it, sparking a debate amongst the group on whether or not they'd class themselves as a family, to which the doc is very surprised that no one sees him as the dad. After a lovely song from the two individuals, they take it upon themselves to show the group what a real family is like.
More tea?
No. No, thank you.
Is that tea?
Looks too thick to be a liquid, but too wet to be a food.
It's a family recipe. Totally. Say when.
As the clump look around, something seems strangely off. An old lady appears to be sitting in a wheelchair, cobwebs covered over used cigarettes from God knows how long ago. A family portrait is seen in the wall with an individual's face smudged out.
Oh, father, brother, you're home. Come sit with us. Look, we have visitors.
Hello, you have a beautiful family here. I'm actually looking to meet my family. Okay.
After watching some homemade videos of the family picnic, the grandma rings the bell, letting them know that it's game time, which leads to a very cool looking board. They allow the yellow guy to play with them, giving him Mother's piece, suggesting that Mother will be coming home soon and they hope that they can stay for tea. However, Duck keeps interrupting, saying he wants to go back, forcing the twins to kick him out of the house, and he goes back on his own, while the others stay a little longer. After family game time is over, the twins introduce the two to their family tree. The red guy seems pretty excited by this, as he wants to find his family too, to which the tree believes he can help.
Perhaps I could help. I just need a sample of your DNA.
Huh? What for?
To help you find your family members, silly.
Great. So do you need some forms or...
How about a blood sample?
What's that?
I just need a drop. There we go.
So how long until the results? Yeah. I'm pretty excited to finally meet my family. You're taking quite a lot of blood there, actually. I reckon when I meet my family, they probably want to get a new photo.
We need to make sure the results are accurate, don't we?
It doesn't matter if my family will give me some of their blood.
After passing out, he awakes in the process of a photo shoot with what looks to be his family. Overexcited by this, it unfortunately doesn't last very long.
Oh, so you must be the uncle. Stay still, please. Sorry. I like him. Is he... Hey, I'm not going to tell you again. Yep, sorry. And you on the left, can you stop smiling? Oh, am I smiling? Yes. I'm sorry. I just can't help myself. I'm just happy to finally be with my family. You're ruining it. We can't have him in the shot. What? No, please. Come on, I'm just happy. No, I'm sorry. Fine, just stay still. Okay, everyone on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Meanwhile, it seems as though the twins are getting a little too close for comfort for the yellow guy, to the point they offer him a sleepover. But he doesn't really want to go to sleep. That is, until one of the twins sings him a lullaby, slowly sending him into a hypnotic state before everything goes black. After coming to, the whole family is gathered around the table. His hands are tied to the chair. The twist is revealed. He is, in fact, Mother. They needed a mother to finally qualify for a family meal, so they force him to make the call.
I'd like to order the family tub, please. Family tub will feed us all. Family tub will feed us all.
The family-sized tub flies through the roof and we watch the family devour it before the yellow guy's eyes, until we get a familiar face.
Dad! I knew you'd come.
Yum, 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 yum.
Dad?
Yum, 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 yum.
Bye.
Yum, 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 yum.
We then cut back to the group sitting at the kitchen table once more, but this time under the impression that it doesn't matter what other people think. Maybe family can be just a group of individuals that care about each other. With that newfound appreciation, the Chuddle Dollops finally open, revealing to only have 2 in the packet.
I guess we could share.
Episode 3 definitely delivers on the horror aspects the web series is most famous for, plus we saw a true return to a fan favourite, Roy, which makes sense considering the whole lesson was about family and what constitutes as one. It also brings in another question for theorists: is Roy good or bad? With the ominous music appearing every time he arrives in the series, and lines from interviews talking about sending his son to Punishland, one could suggest he was the villain. Some even suggested that he was running the whole show, as we even see him kind of in the place where Red Guy was controlling everything. But here it seems he kinda saved his son. So what gives? Well, if you're interested in theories and looking for something to chew on, at the very beginning, it seems as though the lesson is actually going to be about healthy eating again, as we're greeted with a talking apple. However, this lesson gets hijacked by 2 humanoid individuals and then takes the characters away from the felt world into a very real-looking one, something we've never seen before. This is also the first and only humanoid teachers we actually come across in the whole series. So if you want a theory where you could suggest that Roy is still the mastermind behind it all, you could come to the conclusion that the characters were kidnapped by rogue individuals, to which Roy has to come and get them and bring them back, as it's very clear that Roy kills these teachers at the very end, something to play around with if you're interested in making theories. This episode overall is very enjoyable. I love the sets and the twins' design. It captures the old kids' TV shows that appeared in Britain during the 60s and 70s, which are very creepy if you ever look back on them now. I thought the reveal of Yellow Guy being their mother was a nice twist, and watching them get their comeuppance at the end as Roy enters is very satisfying.
And every day's a new surprise.
When you're learning with us, guys.
And we live in an actual nightmare!
Episode 4 brings us that time of year where our 3 friends are able to explore the internet, but sadly, they can't remember the password, leading to the creators playing around with the idea of their characters' names once more.
Maybe it's my name. Try my name.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Remember the hyphen.
Yeah, the hyphen. There.
Oh, good try.
After failing to remember the password, it seems as though they won't be able to use the internet this year, leading to insults thrown towards the Yellow Guy after being a complete idiot and not doing his one simple job.
Come on, it's not your fault. You're just a
Yeah, you can't help it. You're just a
Okay, stop. Did you see what just happened there?
The characters are interrupted by our new teacher called Eagle, a worm that refuses to admit he's a worm and instead tries to convince the bunch that he's an eagle. He arrives to teach the group about friendship and how insulting each other is not the way to go. The group don't listen, however, leading to the Yellow Guy feeling like he isn't part of the group and retracts back into his brain and decides to hang out with his imaginary friends instead, leaving it up to the teacher to go inside and save him. Only for Eagle to fall for all the compliments given to him by the imaginary friends and decides to stay, making everything much worse. After realizing what's going on, the other 2 bring out the duck's tools and pull out the worm themselves, leading them to somewhat apologizing to the Yellow Guy and finally admitting they're all friends, and sometimes friends just fight.
You idiot!
What? Don't say that to me. I didn't
Shut
mean
up.
to.
What?
you said
Turn
that you
on
weren't
me.
going to talk to him
He
like that
ruined
anymore.
it. I'm never going to see that skeleton.
Here we
Thank
go.
you.
Well, I'm dealing with you!
I don't want to do this anymore. You guys don't do this. Next time you want to go on the computer.
I haven't really focused on this episode as much, as it's definitely the weakest out of the series. It starts out rather strong and even ends pretty funny, but the second we're introduced to Eagle, it just goes downhill. I'm pretty sure the whole idea is to make him as annoying as possible, and so by that logic they did a great job, but because of that, it sacrifices any enjoyment watching this episode for me, because he's just that, annoying. I thought the interesting parts were having the three explore the internet, and I generally think had they just done several skits of them at the computer for the full runtime, checking emails, remembering the password, trying to diagnose their friend, you'd have a pretty solid episode. The great thing about Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared is the characters are entertaining enough that I can see them pulling off an entire 20 minutes of just sitting at the computer and reacting to what they find. They did not need this Eagle character, and I think that's why it's a frustrating watch for me. It just feels like the whole episode stops whenever he appears. It probably doesn't help the fact that the first 3 episodes were just so strong and all felt like their own thing, whereas this just felt like something I'd see on Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network from the mid-2000s, whenever they decided to introduce an annoying or gross friend to the main cast, for the sake of being annoying or gross. Does anyone remember that Mr. Meaties show? It kind of felt a little like that. I'm sure there'll be fans of this episode, and I hope there is, because there's still a lot of effort clearly put into the animation and puppets. I mean, just look at Eagle's final formation at the very end, that's impressive. It's just not for me.
I'm the one who had a dream where there was stuff like there was another me, and everything was lots of fun, and I went and saw the other ones, and there was a little lumpy one and another windy middle one, and there were things that they had around that I knew what they were, but I don't know now, and then it went away. That's 3 of us, just 3 of us 3.
Episode 5 opens with far more promise, as Red Guy has had enough of them all just sitting around and waiting for a teacher to appear somewhere and start teaching them stuff. He wants to leave. He wants to see what's outside of the 4 walls they appear stuck in, and it seems his wishes are about to be granted.
Did somebody say transport?
I don't think so.
He said he hates this place.
And he hates the clipboard, and he hates me.
Well, no, I was just saying...
What's this now?
I was just saying maybe we could do with a change of scenery, you know.
You have to speak up a bit, here. You have to speak into my good ear.
What? Which one's your good ear? I don't see any ears on you.
The group join in on the train for their new lesson about transport, but not before the train has a drink of some strange-looking black liquid that I'm sure won't come back anytime soon. But enough of that now. We've got a song to listen to.
You can take a few steps with your legs, but you won't get very far. You'd be better with a bicycle or even in a car.
Wow.
The train struggles along while singing his little song, and sadly doesn't really get very far before passing out while in the shape of a car. His eyes roll to X's, and it seems as though the characters are ready to move on. Except for the Red Guy. He wants to give the lesson another go, but this time by themselves, without a teacher. While having concerns raised by the other 2, he eventually convinces them to give it a go. They figure out how to turn on the engine and set off, crashing into the wall, and amazed by what they find.
Green is for go.
Huh?
Hey, look, I can see our TV.
What's happening?
The sky is rewinding.
Why is it so hard to look at? Stop it! Be still!
No, it's supposed to do that. It means we're going somewhere.
I think I prefer the kind of transport where you're indoors.
They've done it. They're finally out. Now they can find out what's out here. Red Guy suggests they could travel to one of the pamphlets they found in the passenger's side, before a GPS comes to life and insists they turn around and go home. The Red Guy sees a location called Clay Hill and asks to go there, to which the teacher responds that it's no longer there anymore. It just shriveled up and died. For those paying attention will obviously know Clay Hill was the town the pilot episode was set in before it got scrapped. Refusing to take the group somewhere interesting, the red guy throws the machine out of the window as it begs them to go home, suggesting something is not right. But they're just having too much fun.
We're going fast, we're going forward in a car that's moving along. We're on our way to a brand new place and we like having fun.
We can play with the circle or play with the stick.
Or play with the shapes in the cupboard that burned me.
And I put up some posters to customize my area. It looks pretty good to me.
Yeah, it's a long drive, but we don't mind.
Because we can get to know each other.
Such comfortable seats, I might have a seat.
And I found this guy in the road.
What? No, get him out. Get him out! Oh.
We're going fast, we're going forward with such good company. And we're on our way to a brand new place, just you and me.
Since the travel appears to be taking longer than usual, the red guy shows Duck all the content he could consume while they wait for the journey's end. He also tells Yellow Guy about how the place they're traveling to would have a home for all of them. They'd no longer need to stay in the same house, and instead, live as neighbors, sending Yellow Guy into what appears to be a dreamlike state.
And here comes one of your neighbors now. I see you're already well acquainted. And look, next door are your other neighbors. And you'll get to know them all in good time, won't you? Oh, how nice. They'd like to welcome you with a gift. What could it be? Oh, it's a rat, or some kind of worthless animal. Oh, careful. Careful now!
He wakes up in shock to see a bird hitting the window. It's getting dark out. The show Duck is watching starts to bug out too and stops playing. The friends are starting to panic, and Red Guy tries to calm everyone down.
I'll never know if Grolton made his appointment.
Well, obviously he will. He always does.
What do you mean?
Grolton always makes his appointment, and no matter what happens, they start the next episode back at home.
Well, don't spoil it.
I'm not spoiling it.
The teacher awakes to find the three have been driving him miles away from where they're supposed to be. He says he's not supposed to be this far out and begs for his drink from earlier, but there's nothing left. Red Guy suggests they can just make some more in hopes to de-escalate the situation.
Oh, let's just turn back.
No! Look, we'll make you some more. How hard can it be? What's in it?
It is forged far beneath the earth with the last remnants of the ancient ones.
What'd you say? Raisins? Yeah, okay.
Another reference to the beings living underground, similar to what was said with the lamp in episode 2. The Red Guy tries to appease everyone, but it's just becoming too much.
It's definitely not worth it.
I've changed my mind. I want to go home.
No!
It's almost the end of Grolton Coffee.
No! We're so close!
To what?
We can't go back. I'm not going back into that house!
Guys.
There has to be something. Anything!
Guys.
What?
There's something out there.
Stranded, possibly miles away from home, the puppets decide to make a fire and camp around the car for the night, unsure of where they actually are. But just as the credits are about to roll, a faint voice can be heard in the distance, almost narrating the story.
Journeys made and lessons learned. You may feel like you're alone, but no matter how much the wheels turn, the journey always ends up back at home.
Episode 5 definitely stands as one of my personal favorites. The perfect mix of comedy, horror, and mystery can all be found in this one episode as we see our group attempt to break free and find out what else is out there, only to find nothing and trap themselves in the middle of nowhere with their only hope that someone will find them by chance. There's also a lot to theorize now too, as we hear a woman's voice at the very end that is also the same one that narrated Yellow Guy's dream sequence. There's also a number plate that says Leslie, and on top of that there's the teacher that is seen drinking a strange black substance, similar to what we saw the workers drink in episode 1 to take at lunch. When asked how it was made, it was forged far beneath the earth from the ancient ones, which also seems to be a callback to episode 2, where the lamp describes what happens to us after we die, and how we have to relive our lives as a performance at the center of the earth. A lot of ideas can start spinning from just those 2 connections alone. But that wasn't the only stuff that was worth taking away from this episode. It turns out, after filming, the car itself was left at a specific location. Becky tweeted out if anyone could find it, they'd receive a prize. Within a day, it was already discovered by the Choo Choo Finder on Twitter, to which Becky blocked, then unblocked and gave them the prize. The car is supposedly destroyed now, so you can no longer find it, but it was another little fun Easter egg put together by the creators. As the shot of the house appears, something feels different. Not only does it appear larger, but it's stationary, until a hand reaches over a crank and begins churning, winding up the finale. The characters are back in the kitchen, seemingly forgotten what they went through in the last episode, with no mention as to what happened. The duck is stumped by the 2-letter word on his crossword.
Okay, 1 across. The clue is opposite of down. 2 letters. That's a tricky one.
Opposite of down. Try above.
Above. A, B, of, no.
Hey, I know. It's when you can't remember that over the top of you there's bigger ones that are bigger, and then over the top of it there's a smaller one of all of it at the top of that.
What?
Huh?
The whole segment of the crossword is to foreshadow what's to come. The 2 letters clearly spell up, something the characters can't figure out, except for the yellow guy. He actually describes exactly what's up and above them. But before seeing the whole episode, you'd be left to believe it meant nothing. That's certainly what the other 2 think, and in fact, they believe he should just stick to cleaning plates. As the duck quickly gives up after Yellow Guy's guess, he decides to shred the crossword with his personal shredder, and asks if there's anything else they'd like to dispose of. The red guy offers the electricity bill. He's never heard of it before, and the duck believes it's pointless, leading us to our final teacher. Well, kind of.
I think you might be forgetting something, friend.
Huh?
Come on.
I don't know, maybe we should help them open it.
Well, they'll figure it out, probably.
So, I hear you guys don't think electricity is cool, huh?
A song begins as our trio learns about the importance of electricity in the world we currently live in, and how most things are becoming more dependent on electricity. Even things you wouldn't expect might be powered by it.
But what about my shredder? What about my shredder?
And the shredder.
The teacher reveals that even she is running on electricity, using batteries, to which we also discovered so is the yellow guy. Although they've clearly not been changed in a long while, so the duck swaps batteries, turning yellow guy into a genius.
You need to put fresh ones in every now and then to keep energy
yours look
levels
nice and
high
new.
and
Why don't you swap?
electricity running smoothly.
There. Much better.
Guys, hold on a sec.
They're mine.
So, do you feel any different? So, do you feel any different?
I feel...
He goes on to finish the crossword and even makes a spatial distribution puzzle on his own. Revealing strange symbols that we've actually seen throughout the show, and it's not going to be the last. He also knows far more about the lessons the supposed teachers are meant to be knowledgeable in.
You know what? That kind of thing seems to happen a lot around here. It might be worth us getting some contents insurance. We should have done it years ago, really.
Stop making up words!
Did someone say insurance?
Here we go.
Insurance is
Back to normal.
great. You can take it from me. You can break what you want and get new stuff for free.
Hang on. That's wildly misleading.
What?
Well, look, in the simplest terms, an insurance transaction involves the insured assuming a guaranteed and known relatively small loss in the form of payment to the insurer in exchange for the insurer's promise to compensate the insured in the event of a covered loss. But you must know that.
It's almost like you're teaching me.
Yeah, it is a bit.
Yes, but I'm going to go, though. Bang to my back.
This brings the yellow guy to question where exactly these teachers are coming from, and why they're telling them all how to think. The other two don't like that he appears to be thinking for himself now, and that causes him to wonder if he's in the wrong.
Can we make the tablecloth electric?
But he's gone wrong.
It's fine, just ignore him. What about the knives and forks?
Have we gone wrong? I don't think so. This doesn't feel wrong. At least it doesn't hurt to think anymore.
But they seem upset with us.
Well, maybe they're not in charge of us anymore.
As the reflection walks off screen, he spots something in the corner. A staircase. Something none of them appeared to have noticed before. While the other two are distracted, he decides to explore and find out what's up there. He enters a room called the Big Boys Room, with other versions of Red Guy and Duck with bigger heads. They claim they're so smart that they learn 2 lessons instead of 1. Yellow Guy isn't really impressed, and while watching the teachers dance, he catches something.
My pocket for you!
Pretty clever, huh?
Yeah, try and keep up, mate.
He leaves the room to find another floor and heads further up, to a bigger boys' room, featuring a more sci-fi version of the Doc and Red Guy, experimenting on a random blob, although it doesn't occur to them that they don't really know what the experiment is. Still unimpressed by the two once again, he leaves and heads up to what seems to be the final floor of the house. As he walks towards the door, he sees photos on the wall of him, mimicking his actions of getting closer to the room, which could be perceived that he's been up here before, since there's photos of him doing this stuff. Or it could be seen as the world changing around him while he does it. It's not the first time this world has changed a picture in real time. In episode 5 of the web series, Duck sees a drawing on the fridge of his friends all sitting around a table, and then witnesses it change in real time, and even predicts the future. In fact, I didn't realize this until I was editing, but as the yellow guy walks towards the stairs, you can very clearly see a portrait of the stairs with no yellow guy to be found. And then the second he starts walking up, the picture updates, and this time you can see the yellow guy.
Batteries can be replaced, but some things stay the same. No matter how we twist and turn, we're still dancing in chains. Are you just going to stand there?
Who are you?
My name's Leslie. It's nice to meet you.
Leslie, the name found on the number plate in episode 5, and also appears to be the same voice we heard at the end and during Yellow Guy's dream. A strange woman, covered in stitches, playing a piano while narrating over what's been happening downstairs. As he walks further in, he finds objects from previous episodes, like the Chuddle Dollops, the spade, and most recently, the batteries. He stands next to her while she continues playing. He looks over the dollhouse and sees his two friends at the very bottom and asks her something.
You didn't build all this, did you?
That's a good question.
What's the answer? What's going on? Why are you laughing?
Because it's so funny! Gosh, you still can't see the funny side.
After avoiding the question, she offers to help, as long as he helps her tidy up. After finally tidying up, Leslie takes the yellow guy puppet from her room and puts him back in the kitchen. He also tries to put the duck guy back, but sadly, the head falls off. Luckily, she has plenty of backup.
You wanted this, didn't you?
Huh. Did I?
You are just too funny. Run along now. You've got plenty of reading to do.
Can't I stay here with you?
Oh no. You're not my real son! Only joking.
She sends him on his way back downstairs, but it seems as though he didn't notice another door was hiding in the corner, potentially leading to many more answers we were looking for. The red guy and Duck have been having some problems themselves. After overindulging on electricity, they caused the power to go out, sending them into some strange place, featuring multiple characters from the web series and TV show, dead on the ground. Some are still alive like the steak, but he's missing parts of his body. After the yellow guy shows up with the book of answers, before he can even say a word, the duck pulls the new batteries from his chest and places them back into the teacher in order to restore power to their home.
What's happening?
There you are, greedy battery hog.
Yeah, get him.
Wait, there's something I need to show you.
Give them to...
No! No!
And that's why we can't live without electricity. Whoop.
Well, what did you want to show us? What on earth are you holding?
The yellow guy tries his hardest to remember what he wanted to show them. It almost feels like he's there, until he sees Duck's shredder.
Huh.
Yes?
Something...
What?
Yes, yes?
Something... shreddable. Hey!
The trio laugh and celebrate as the book is shredded before our eyes, the Book of Answers, lost forever. Which I guess symbolizes the show as a whole. The fact no answer is ever revealed is what makes the series so fascinating. The creators said it themselves when discussing the finale. It's more like we didn't want to say this is the end of his little journey. The idea that it just keeps going and going, explained Pelling. But also, there's just something funny about slightly evading the question, deliberately not putting a clear answer. Because what's interesting about the show, I suppose, is people analyzing it. And once you take out that element of discussion, then maybe it becomes less interesting. And I think he's right. The whole idea they're going for with this series, as stated by Baker Terry, is that they can have people tune in and wonder what the hell is going on. If you suddenly have a concrete answer that explains it all away, the fun of confusing people goes away too. We would never be like, this is correct or this is incorrect, because I think that would ruin it. I think it's best to leave it to people's imagination a bit and play on that. They'd also lose the ability to be creative with the world they've made. If they ever established concrete rules, they wouldn't be able to play around with it as much. So it's quite nice to have a show that straight up tells you it doesn't plan on giving answers, and instead wants you to come up with them yourself by leaving in certain things here and there. If there's one thing I'd have a slight issue with when it comes to playing around with this idea is that sometimes it's not really subtle and a little bit too much in your face. Like Leslie's dialogue, for example. The rest of the series does hint at bigger things too, but it presents it in a way which can be interpreted differently depending on who you speak to. For example, the whole center of the earth stuff in episode 5 came from the red guy asking what the train's drink was made of, and how that was presented could be seen as a throwaway joke, or in fact, alluding to something more. It also leads to the red guy mishearing him and feeding him raisins, making the situation they're currently in worse, meaning it actually had some kind of impact on the story. Leslie's dialogue that's supposed to allude to bigger things comes completely unprompted. Yellow Guy asks if he can stay up here with her, to which she replies, "No, you're not my real son," then follows it up with, "Only joking," and then goes on to answer the question anyway as if that line was never said. It doesn't feel like it belongs there. In fact, if you cut it, it doesn't change the scene at all. It doesn't feel like it can be interpreted as a joke. It just feels so forced that you're left with no other choice but to include it if you ever wanted to make a theory. Or there's the other line, "You still can't see the funny side, can you?" Again, something that is in the middle of a question, and then she answers the question right after, leaving these lines to feel out of place with no other reason than to be theory bait. Again, there's a lot of theory bait in the show, granted, that's the point, but my main point is Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared is usually better at hiding it in plain sight, rather than just saying it to your face unprompted. That's not to say I don't like Leslie or the idea of her. I think she's great, and it sounds like the actress has been recognized so much since the show aired, which is amazing to see. I just think that the dialogue was a little too much. I love her design, I love the fact that there's another layer to the house that Yellow Guy missed, all stuff that is left up to the imagination of the viewer. Plus, having said all that, the community has made some pretty cool theories with that dialogue anyway, such as the theory that Leslie was the driver of the car that hit Yellow Guy. There's lots of cool interpretations you can make with the show, like the idea of clay, for example. Clay seems to be a big factor in the whole world, as that creates life, and is even shown to potentially replace characters like the Duck in episode 2. The town from the Lost Pilot episode is also called Clay Hill. You could also connect the web series to the TV show with this theory, as you could say these characters in the series are not the same ones, but rather replicas that were made after the others went missing. And the fact that it's now June 20th suggests that it is in fact a continuation, but with different versions of these characters. Plus, it would also explain why the characters in episode 6 don't remember the events in episode 5. They're not the same characters, but rather replicas once again, and the ones in episode 5 are still out there, somewhere. One of the biggest problems we were having with the web series was that there was only one popular theory that dominated most of the community. Now, after the show, it seems there's several. Some about the symbols in the show, some about the strange underground beings at the center of the earth, others about Leslie and what's behind the other door. Joe has even hinted that Leslie may also be being controlled by someone. I don't even know if I see her as human.
Hi, so I'm an art educator. I work at a museum, and I also, my channel is on, I don't create art, but I talk about art, and I try to help people understand art. And so my question is, what is something that you guys think are like misconceptions about what you do, or about creating art in general, that you think people should understand, and also ideas for my next videos?
The idea or the notion of understanding art is something that maybe we don't really think about very much. I don't think that all art needs to be understood, or people interpret it in completely different ways. And the way we sort of think about it is that if people think about what we do and it comes across in a certain way to them, then that's correct. To them, that's fine. And so they will have their own different interpretations, and they're all sort of equally valid.
The popular YouTube channel The Film Theorists actually made a video not too long after the show came out discussing the theory of Leslie being the woman in the car. And while making this video, they released another on the series and started discussing the symbols, and included an upcoming YouTuber, Rem Games, who's been covering Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared theories ever since the show was released, which is incredible to see. Say what you want about MatPat and film theory, but he's been making incredible strides recently in covering niche topics and trying his best to bring communities together. together, and by allowing other creators to come onto the platform and share their theories, it's certainly another step in the right direction. Considering I'm probably going to get asked what do I think of Rem's theories, since they seem to be getting a lot of attention, I think they're great. It's amazing to see theories of this show that aren't just the media theory anymore, and I love the idea that some of the symbols could represent the characters' names. But if you're asking me, do I think any of these are the correct interpretations of the show? To that I say, have you not paid attention to a single word I've said over the past 2 hours? The idea of these theories is not whether it's right or wrong, they're to demonstrate your imagination. Theories are a form of fan fiction, and fan fiction, I believe, is a perfect playground to learn how to make things yourself. They're created after being inspired by something, and when you put it to paper, you learn more about writing. If you go further and turn it into a video, then you learn about editing. With Don't Hug Me I'm Scared's creators being very open and refusing to say what's right and wrong about the series, allows their audience to have that freedom to express themselves and learn how to tell a story based on what the creators have given them. Kind of like stabilizers on a bike. The web series and the TV show are the stabilizers, giving you something to work with. Then, when you're ready, you remove them and start from scratch, ready to create something of your own. Whether it's a long, complex timeline about Leslie working with the council at the center of the earth, or they're just simply condiments at a hot dog store, every theory that has come from this show has demonstrated creativity, and has only continued to bring color to a world that appears all so drab.